So the other day was, of course, the anniversary of October 7th, and the politicians came out and did their politician thing and issued statements over it. And Zohran Mamdani issued a statement as well, and the reaction was quite a thing to see. So first, this is the statement from Zohran. He said the following: 2 years ago today, Hamas carried out a horrific war crime, killing more than 1,100 Israelis and kidnapping 250 more. I mourn these lives and pray for the safe return of every hostage still held and for every family whose lives were torn apart by these atrocities. In the aftermath of that day, Prime Minister Netanyahu and the Israeli government launched a genocidal war, a death toll that now far exceeds 67,000, with the Israeli military bombing homes, hospitals, and schools into rubble. Every day in Gaza has become a place where grief itself has run out of a language. I mourn these lives and pray for the families that have been shattered. Our government has been complicit through it all. This must end. The occupation and apartheid must end. Peace must be pursued through diplomacy, not war crimes. And our government must act to end these atrocities and hold those responsible to account. These last 2 years have demonstrated the very worst of humanity. We must answer it by modeling the very best, a relentless pursuit of our higher ideals and an unwavering commitment to universal human rights. So that was Zohran's statement. Ready for this? As 50 Shades of Way points out here, the top 5 most liked replies to Mamdani's October 7th statement are pro-Israel propagandists who don't even live in New York. So here we go. One person says, "Shut the fuck up." Another says, "This statement is insane in so many ways. New York is cooked if you're elected." Drew Pavlu says, "Thanks, Zohran, mate, for marking October 7th by including one sentence about how murdering and raping Jews is bad before immediately pivoting to attacking Israel. Expertly done." Another one, Arsen Ostrovsky, says, "You spend a few lines half-heartedly expressing manufactured sympathy over October 7th, and the rest into spreading blood libel against Israel over fake accusations of genocide. Fact is, every day you are simply enabling and supporting Hamas." And we have Dave Rubin, aka Rave Dubin, always the fucking genius. He says, "Fuck off, commie." That's what he says. Okay. Now, this actually wasn't the only angle that he got hit from. So let me show you here. Let me scroll down a little bit. This person says, "Thank you." This person says it didn't start October 7th. I think he would agree with that. 2 years ago today, Hamas carried out the coolest thing ever, killing Israelis and kidnapping 250 more. I mourn these lives and pray for the safe return of every occupier still held, for every family. So this person's just flat out pro October 7th. If Yoav Gallant can admit Israel killed some of their own citizens, then you certainly can. This one is a fair criticism because the Hannibal Directive was issued, and the Hannibal Directive was when the IDF was told to kill their own people, which is why at that music festival held outside of Gaza, you had all of these cars like lit on fire and burnt to a crisp, and Hamas doesn't have the weapons to do all that, and so the Hannibal Directive was issued, and you have soldiers who are admitting that the Hannibal Directive was issued. People are pointing to Zohran's dad's statement here and saying that this was a better statement. So Mahmoud Mamdani says, "Palestinians have a right to resist. This is a colonial occupation, not a conflict. When all ranks of the occupation, from the armed settler to the settler state, claim the right of self-defense, what language is left for those who defend themselves against the occupation but the right to resist?" This person says, "Was the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising a crime against Nazi Germany? You aren't any kind of socialist if you don't recognize the right for occupied people to resist their occupiers and break out of a concentration camp." So it's a genuine and sincere question for people. Did people expect and or just prefer Zohran to come out and say, "I support October 7th"? Is that what they wanted? I don't know. That's kind of bizarre to me. Look, my opinion on it is very simple. Every single innocent civilian who was killed, that's a fucking war crime. And, that's unacceptable. People should be locked up for that. There's no room for that. If we actually want to be civilized human beings, if we actually want to believe in international law and human rights and justice, that's across the board. I don't care if it's an Israeli civilian being killed, a Palestinian civilian being killed, a fucking Burundi civilian being killed, a Botswana civilian being killed, a Madagascar civilian being killed, an American citizen. I don't care. That's bad and that's wrong. So the reality of the situation, from my perspective, is the following, that everybody should condemn the killing of all innocent people. Now, it gets a little complicated because I looked it up the other night. It was according to Grok, at least, it's about 33% of the people killed on October 7th were military or were like law enforcement. And you got to be honest, that's fair game. Like, that's totally fair game. Like, if somebody is part of the illegally occupying military and there are attacks targeted specifically at them, you fucked around and you found out, bro. You cannot and should not be illegally occupying innocent people and expect, fucking everybody to hold hands and sing Kumbaya? So no, about 33% of the killings were totally fair game. Any targeting of innocent people, completely and utterly unacceptable. But then you have to ask, like, well, what percentage of the people who were innocent who were killed, what percentage of that was just from the Hannibal Directive? You know? But in terms of, I'm off in the weeds now. The point is, in terms of what Zohran said here, this is a perfectly reasonable statement. This is a perfectly reasonable statement. It's kind of crazy to me that anybody... I get the right-wing assholes who are pouncing on this because they fucking hate Zohran and they think he's a communist, and they try to smear him like as an anti-Semite and stuff. So I get the right attacking him. The left attacking him, I don't get that. I don't understand. It almost makes me feel like the people on the left who are attacking him over this, it makes me feel like, are y'all feds? Are you guys feds? Are you guys bots? Are you? Because it feels mighty convenient. Like, you're trying to, like, prod him to say things that would genuinely be disqualifying and make it so he could lose, right? Maybe they are bots. Maybe they are feds. But again, and it's a perfectly reasonable statement, and I totally support it. But if we actually want to have a real conversation about what went down, the fact of the matter is 33% of the dead were perfectly fine. It was military people, and if you're resisting against an occupying military that's within international law, that's perfectly fine. And we don't know what percentage of the rest of the actual innocent people who were killed. We don't know what percentage of them were killed by the Hannibal Directive. But you're not going to, on an October 7th statement, you're not going to get into the fucking autistic details of that. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to, like, lay that out and be like, well, technically, actually, 33% of the deaths were fine, but the rest I condemn. Like, that's goofy. That's some goofy shit. It would be used as a political weapon against you, you know? So I think it was a perfectly reasonable statement. And honestly, this is like a roadmap of what other Democratic politicians should be saying, right? And Zohran is sort of leading the way with, hey, here's the model. Here's how you talk. Here's the positions you represent. And then when you get in there, you do the hard work of governing. Now, obviously, for him, foreign policy is not really a thing. He's running to be a mayor. But this is still the model and how Democrats should follow suit, because this is like 20 times better than any Democratic politician that's in power right now. I mean, I would argue this is even better than Bernie, than AOC. And so, in a sense, it's the guiding light. So to criticize him from the left strikes me as absolutely preposterous. But the right-wingers are going to do right-wing dumbass bullshit, and that was fully expected. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.